Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Justin. I'm here with the Good Vibes Only Business YouTube channel. Going over a little bit of TURO information today. It's May 29th already, 2022. So a little bit late with the April profit and loss information. I've had a little bit of a busy month, got sick for a while, lost my voice. So I couldn't really record, obviously, a video at that time, but wanted to get into some of the numbers because I know it's a very common question for both existing TURO hosts and potential new ones is what kind of cars and what kind of markets can get what kind of profitability numbers. I know this is going to vary widely between market and car choice and fees, and I want to go over some of those details with this slide here and at least try to give people an idea of what they're kind of looking at. So how the Escape is set up for guests, you can customize as a TURO host a lot of these things. So for example, delivery fee. You can choose as a TURO host where you're delivering the vehicle up to 10 different locations. And you can customize the delivery fee from $0 for the delivery all the way up to $120. I happen to live a little bit far from LAX, so I do have it up at the maximum $120. For any of my guests that ask why that much or kind of like the motivation behind the fee, I just kind of explain to them it's for my time, transportation, and parking. This allows for them to have no surprise fees added on to their trip. Everything's right there in the TURO receipt for them, and I'm not having them also, for example, pay to get a Lyft or an Uber ride to some weird place to pick up the car, or pay to leave the parking structure. I have all that stuff taken care of for them. I think for those guests that do ask about the fee, if I explain it in those terms, it kind of makes sense to people. But then again, I know that there's some hosts that do free LAX delivery. To me, that starts to make financial sense for cars that have a larger per day price. For example, the Escape rents on average for only $50 a day. Pretty affordable car, especially with the car market the way it is. There's more affordable options, there's more expensive options, and anything and everything in between. But again, financially, let's say someone rents the car for a month or something. I don't have to keep doing these back and forth to LAX. Then at that point, if someone wants to negotiate a $0 LAX delivery fee, might start to make sense. But most families that fly into LA, they stay for a weekend or maybe a week. So at that point, when I've started to run the numbers, it makes sense for me to do the $120 LAX delivery fee. Because what you want to try to do is maximize your time value, right? As kind of a prospective business owner. And that's where I want to continue to grow this TURO hosting is up to that business hosting level. One thing that's really maximized my time is automated messaging. What I use and what a lot of TURO hosts use for automated messaging is CarSync. I'll probably have to put together a different video for CarSync specifically and what that's used for. But there's some good time-saving things on there where you can put on CarSync linked to your TURO host profile. So when a guest books a trip, 30 seconds later, the guest gets like a, hey, thank you for booking, welcome message, all that kind of stuff. So it has been a good time saver for me, is CarSync automated messaging. And here's what everyone always is interested in, is top line revenue. What we see on the TURO host page is you have all of this information all on the top row in terms of getting a little bit more details about the business. Today we're going just into earnings for hosting, and in this drop-down menu here, you can view all the different cars. Today we're just talking about the Ford Escape. For hosts that host a lot of cars on the platform, this can do a little bit more of a deep dive into the fleet in terms of individual vehicles. For me, I only have 3 cars, so it's pretty easy to kind of like check out. The top line revenue for the month of April, we saw a little bit of an increase as like kind of summer and spring travel started, right around the $500-600 mark, all the way up into April, went up to $774. So keep that number in mind as we start to talk about some expenses that come out of that top line revenue number. There's a lot of people that'll buy cars for TURO just entirely with cash. Amazing. Dave Ramsey loves you. Dave Ramsey hates debt, so he loves people buying cars in cash. I haven't got to that level yet personally, so I have a little bit of a loan on this one. The car payment is $215 a month. car insurance, I get a good savings with this where it's only $40 a month. You did hear me correctly. It's through Metro Mile. I think the savings Metro Mile gives Turo hosts by linking your profile with Metro Mile and having a device plugged into the car to measure who's driving the car. Is it the Turo host? Is it the guest? Metro Mile gives Turo hosts savings on car insurance by saying if a Turo guest has it, we know that that insurance for the trip takes care of it, so they don't charge for that. They only charge for a base fee monthly, and then whatever miles the Turo host drives, like let's say to the car wash or drop it off at LAX, whatever. So good savings there. For now, I do Lyft rides to and from LAX to do deliveries. In the month of April, I had to budget $80 for that, so I took that off as an expense. Parking the car at LAX, I have a couple of videos on the channel about like how to choose parking garages, how much that costs, but I just kind of summarized that down to $34 for the month of April. I do a monthly wash pass for my cars just down the street from where I live, where it's $33 a month. I found that I like the quality of the car wash that we get. It has like a nice little air cannon, which is fun to kind of make sure the car is as spick and span for the next guest. I did want to always put in labor costs for the business, especially as it grows. So I have those labor costs built in. So when I hire somebody to help me do this, it's not like I have to add in another line item to kind of calculate that. So I did put an hour of labor for $30. For the expenses for the month of April, I calculated it out if you total all these down to $432. So we'll keep that a number in mind as we talk about profit and loss for the month. So remember, from the revenue line, we had $774. From the expenses, we got $432. And that results in a monthly profit of $342. Some more stats that kind of keep these numbers flexible on a month-to-month basis is a lot of these things can change. Like, for example, it was booked 21 of 30 days. I just had someone book the Escape a couple months ago for like 3 months in a row. So obviously the numbers of how many days booked it is per month can change. I see on average is about 20 out of 30 days a month. My personal pricing strategy, I never want to price the car so low that it's booked all the goddamn time. But I want to price it high enough to kind of get like that middle area of like, okay, it's being utilized, but it's kind of getting the money that it should be top line revenue wise. There was no new damage in the month of April. The car was parked in front of the house here in May and just got absolutely obliterated by a drunk driver, but that's a story for another time. No tolls or tickets. So keep in mind that the guest is financially responsible for anything that happens as they're driving or to the vehicle when they're on the trip. So I'll have some guests not argue with me, but kind of ask me questions like, hey, why am I getting a ticket fee 2 months after my trip ended? It's like, well, that's when I received it in the mail as a vehicle owner. So we just kind of have to keep those things in mind that sometimes those numbers will change. So let's say that everything goes just like the month of April did for that particular vehicle. After expenses, just the profit alone, that vehicle would expect to be doing around $4,000 a year. Keep in mind that there's like kind of annual maintenance costs too that aren't built into this. Like let's say you do an oil change once a quarter. It's like $40 per time. So it's like $160 a year. Let's call brakes like $200 a year. So it's like things that kind of add up and take away slightly from that. But it's kind of like a small enough number that I just wanted to kind of get a visual of what the annual profit might be. So I think there's a lot of things that are going well. Some future improvements though. What I'd like to do, and I think this would be easier to do in a single family residence with like my own garage than a condo complex with 200 units, which is where I live now, is washing the cars from home. That would save me on a fleet average $99 a month because it's $33 per 3 cars that I have the wash pass with. By hiring employees, I'd be able to maximize my time value better. Just because like washing cars, delivering it to LAX, it's not a difficult job. I think that I could be more valuable to the business in other ways, but it's still jobs that need to be done. So I'm happy to pay somebody an hourly rate to do that and help out with that. by hiring some help, I think I'll gain some flexibility in terms of dropping off right at the terminal. I don't want to be doing this in an obvious way where the guest or myself gets in trouble with the airport. But if it's kind of like a quick, like, hi, welcome, thank you, here's the keys, I don't think the airport would have a problem with that at the terminal, just in terms of kind of maximizing the guest's experience of hopping off the plane, grabbing their luggage, and just hopping right in the car at the terminal. And then secondly, I wouldn't have to pay for parking, which is a big expense on that. So I think that would be helpful too. I think some things that are going well so far is using things like automated messaging and the automatic pricing tool from TURO. Just kind of make sure that I'm competitive with the market. But yeah, if this video is something that you found some value in, I hope that you like the video, comment some ideas of content that you'd like to see from the channel. And I always appreciate those people that do subscribe to the channel so you guys don't miss any new updates about the TURO business or anything else going on. Hope you guys have a great month and a great year. Talk to you guys soon.